Hey guys, Baddies Going Wild episode 12. This is the season 1 finale, so I'll be reviewing this episode tonight, and I'll also be posting my season rankings where I'll rank each girl individually right after this video, so look out for that. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, and if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. So this episode starts with all the girls on their way to an activity, so of course we got the girls in 2 separate buses. And everybody was basically trying to figure out what they might be doing today. They figured that it's something athletic based on the clothes that they were told to wear. So Rella and TT are on the bus with Bahati. Rella going to turn around smiling in Bahati's face talking about, oh, how do you feel about getting your chain? And TT smiling too. So Bahati like, I'm happy I got it. Hurricane M said in her confessional, oh, I guess I got to shave my head to get a chain because that's the only reason Bahati got the chain. No, Bahati got the chain because she's been standing on business since day one. And she been a fan fave since day one. Let's not forget, she whooped Rella and Cupcake at the beginning as well. She didn't just become a fan fave from this beef with Daisy. So Bahati mentioned how her and Daisy have to pick who gets the third chain and asked the girls who do they feel deserves it. Like, do you feel like one of y'all should get it or somebody else? Rella said she feel like they all gonna get one eventually because they OGs. Girl, you're sadly mistaken. And I really felt like in this moment, Rella was kissing Bahati's ass so that she could possibly be chose as the third person. Because she gonna say, I know I didn't really clap for you in the moment, but that was only because I felt bad for TT. That's my friend and she really wanted it. But I am happy for you. No, you're not happy for her. You just hoping that she could get on your side since you know that Daisy is kind of on your side and that you could possibly be the person to get that chain. But it's not going to happen. And Gloss was just basically saying the same thing that she said when she gave the speech. When Natalie asked them, tell me why you deserve the chain, Gloss basically was saying TT and Daisy deserve it. They've been doing a big one, not even talking about herself. And she was doing the same thing in this moment. She was like, I feel like y'all deserve the chain more than me, but I'm glad I came and got to know all of y'all and I stuck it out. Like, Gloss, you know you ain't do shit but get dragged through the dirt. Still ain't get your lick back on Shay for real as far as I've seen. That jumping do not count. And then on Daisy Buzz, she basically asked the girls the same thing. Who deserved the chain? So Coco said she deserved it. Cupcake said she deserved it. And Jaden said she deserved it. Coco said, I deserve it because I fought you 3 times. Who else fought you 3 times? Girl, you fought Daisy 3 times when? You must have fought her back to back. Got that red eye and never got your lick back. Fuck you talking about? And Jaden says she on her own type of timing. She fighting when she feel like it's necessary to fight. She not letting people put batteries in her back. And it just is what it is. She feel like she been standing on business and she deserve a chain. Now, I don't feel like Jaden deserves a chain yet. Maybe if this was the kind of show where she could come back for a second season, she might earn it. But I do feel like she was a little soft this season. But I'm glad that she did get in the paint, And she stopped letting the girls run all over her at a certain point. So TT's in her confessional popping it, talking about, I hope Bahati don't think she holding nothing over my head. I don't even care about the chain. F her and that chain. Because she basically said she wanted the chain from Natalie. So she don't really care about getting that third chain from Bahati and Daisy. And then Bahati made a joke and said, maybe we should bring Erica back and I could give her the third chain. I know that's right. Because she was more deserving than half of these girls that acting like they are. Coco, Cupcake, y'all don't deserve nothing compared to Erica. So remember, the girls are in Brazil. They get to their activity and they realize that they're playing soccer, but in Brazil they call it football. So the girls choose teams with Daisy and Bahati as the team captains. Daisy chooses Janellis, Jaden, TT, and Rella. And Bahati ends up with Hurricane M, Cupcake, Coco, Gloss, and whoever else is left over, child. Ming was the goalie, and Shay and Oxy could not participate because of their injuries, so they were the cheerleaders. So this was a cute little activity. The funniest part to me was that Ming was the goalie, and every time they was kicking her right into that net and she was on the ground. I laughed every time. Mind you, while they was playing, there was some Brazilian kids. They was calling them fans. I don't know if they was fans. I just think they saw some girls that they probably figured was American playing, and they saw some cameras filming, so they just wanted to get into it. I don't think they was fans of y'all. That was a drag. But the little Brazilian kids, they was yelling outside the fence like ole, ole, cheering the girls on. They was cheering for them more than Shay and Oxy. So the girls are on their way home, and they all was basically just saying how it was actually nice that they was able to have a team building activity. Some people who really didn't get along with each other worked on the same team, and there was no fights. And some people said they wish they could have had more activities like that. It's unfortunate that y'all was too immature to be able to do that. Like Janella said, it was good to see Jaden get out of her shell a little bit. She's usually with her same crew, but Shay and Oxy were off of the field cheerleading. Jaden was in there with the girls playing, and she was able to do it. And on the other bus, Jaden said, it was hard for me to interact and mingle with TT and other people that I don't get along with. But at the end of the day, I put my big girl pants on because it was for the greater good of the group, for us to be able to actually have a good activity for once. And then from there, the girls are basically saying when they get in the house, they ready to get ready for their final dinner. And Cupcake said, yeah, Natalie basically let us know we not going to no more restaurants because we too wild. So we're going to have our final dinner in the house. So we see all of the girls getting ready. Gloss basically mentioned that she suggested that all of the girls wear all white. So most of the girls are following that dress code. There are a few outliers. Janelle's had on a brown dress. You see Rella got on this green wig and this pink dress looking like Cosmo and Wanda in one. But besides that, I think everybody actually did wear white. I'm going to just give Rella and Janelle's a pass and say maybe they didn't pack nothing white. So then Daisy basically says, you know, before the dinner, I have to go sit down with Bahati and we need to finalize a name and figure out who this person is that we're going to agree on giving the third chain to. And she said she hoped that her and Bahati could get on the same page. So when Daisy walked into Bahati's room, they was definitely playing it cool with each other. Bahati told Daisy she looked cute and Daisy was like, you look cute too. Like, I love your shoes. You know, they complimenting each other. I will say that this scene felt very staged and scripted to me. And I mean, we basically know it was. We know that these two don't really like each other. They don't really want to be talking to each other. And Natalie purposely put those two in a position where, okay, I'm giving y'all two the chains and now y'all have to work together to give somebody the third chain. Natalie could have just gave the third chain to somebody herself, but she knew what she was doing. So that in itself is staging and scripting. So this scene just didn't feel natural to me. That's the best way to put it. So Bahati said, well, I feel like Jaden should get the chain. And Daisy said, you know, if you throw it at Jaden, she gonna catch it. If you push Jaden to that point where she gotta fight you, she gonna fight. But Jaden is not just naturally wild. And this is Baddies going wild. We had to push Jaden to that point. And I do agree with that because I basically told y'all that earlier. I feel like Jaden was kind of letting the girls run over her a little too much at the beginning. And she eventually started to stand on business. And that's even more when she had a crew surrounding her. Once she was locked in with Shay, Bahati, and Oxy. At the beginning of the season, she wasn't really locked in with anybody yet. And I feel like we saw a more scary, timid person. So then Daisy asked Bahati how she felt about Titi. So to me, that means she was basically saying Titi was her first choice. And Bahati basically said she had mixed feelings on Titi. She was like, you know, I do feel like Titi's a baddie. She knows how to put herself together. She looks good when she dresses up. She said, I feel like she stands on business, but she said Titi doesn't really know how to listen. Titi's kind of a hater, and Titi is kind of a bully and a jumper. Daisy gonna try to say she never saw Titi sneak or jump anybody. Where have you been? Like, did you not see Titi sneak and jump Erica? And that's just one incident that I'm just thinking of right off the top of my head. And then Daisy gonna say, but at the end of the day, this is Baddies going wild. So, hey, that's what we here for. So now you here for jumping and sneaking. But this whole time you've been saying you don't like people jumping. Like, Daisy be contradicting herself too much and it just don't be making sense for me. So then Bahati was like, okay, next person that we've been talking about is Coco. And Bahati said, I really don't think she deserves the chain. Daisy said, why? And Bahati was like, she really hasn't done much in the house, which is a fact. Daisy gonna say, Coco do deserve the chain. She hasn't been trying to beef with nobody. And she's been neutral. But I thought you just said that people were supposed to be wild if they supposed to get the chain. Coco hasn't been wild if you saying she's been neutral. And she just been cool all season, which is basically what Bahati is saying. She been trying to be cool with everybody, and she really ain't been getting in the field with nobody. The only person she picked that all season was Bahati. Then Daisy said, as far as Hurricane, I think she might be deserving. Nobody really came at her this whole time we've been here, and I feel like she stood on business. But then Daisy said, actually, the only reason that I wouldn't give Hurricane M the chain is because she keep going with her issue with Jaden, and she won't let it go. And so then Bahati basically said, okay, so how about we go ahead, have dinner. Let's ask the girls to basically give us their reasons why they feel like they deserve the chain. And whoever we feel like gives the best speech is who will give the third chain. So Daisy agreed. So then we cut to these two confessionals of Hurricane M and Coco. Hurricane talking about if she don't get the chain, she gonna be mad as F, but she still gonna be a bad B. And she been standing on business since she got here. Girl, standing on business with Jaden and Jaden only. Because when you tried to stand on business with Shay, you got tore. Then Coco talking about she really deserved the chain while you sitting there with your eye still red, begging for the chain from the person who gave you the red eye that you ain't never get your lick back for. And she gonna say they not real bees if they don't pick me tonight. Girl, then we must all be fake because nobody wanted to pick you. None of the fans. You probably got the least amount of votes all season. So the girls are walking in and they're basically in two separate groups. So Bahati has Coco, Cupcake, Janellis, and Titi with her. And Daisy has Rella, Gloss, Ming, and Hurricane M with her in another room. And they basically going back and forth trying to see who could do the wild bees take shots chant the loudest. It was stupid for a minute. And then Bahati went to get Shay, Oxy, and Jaden out of the room. So they came and joined Titi, Coco, and the rest of the girls. So when they came down, Coco was like, come on, we ain't gonna bite y'all. So then from there, Bahati went into the room where Daisy and the other girls were. And she was like, okay, guys, come on, let's go into the room together where dinner is. So they all got into the room. Rella sees that the table is pink. And she talking about, oh, look, I matched the table. This is my party. This is my dinner. Girl, you're barely going to get any camera time during this dinner. Please. So as the girls are sitting down, we see some confessionals from Coco and Ming, and they're both basically saying, you know, this is the final dinner. I do think people still got some stuff they want to get off their chest, and I do feel like some stuff is going to go down at this dinner. It's not just going to be us eating and getting these chains. So Daisy basically is like, you know, I'm glad everybody looks good tonight. I want us to take this dinner to reflect on the season. So does anybody have anything they want to get off their chest or address with anybody? Basically a Natalie move, a Natalie house meeting move. So TT asked a dumbass obvious question. She gonna ask Shay, Oxy, and Jaden why they ate in their room the entire season. And Oxy and Jaden was like, from the beginning, y'all tried to make us feel uncomfortable. We wasn't about to kiss y'all ass and try to eat around y'all. So we had our own crew in our own space, and we did everything in that space. Duh. Then Hurricane M starts telling Jaden to shut up, talking about she's getting irritated. Why is Jaden even talking? Jaden is talking because TT asked her and her friends why they ate in their room the entire time. And Jaden was responding. You didn't like her response, which was her saying that she didn't care to dick ride y'all, and she didn't care if y'all wasn't fucking with her and her friends. That's why they ate in their own space. And you got mad about that? Bitch, mind your fucking business. So it gave that Hurricane M was trying to have a moment and have a back and forth with Jaden, and Jaden let her know, I'm not giving you that. It's no more of me and you going back and forth. So Rella was like, okay, so Hurricane, you telling me you never gonna get over this issue with Jaden? And she was like, no, I would never F with her, and I would never be in the same room with her, even though we from the same city. Mind you, it's videos of them dancing together at this house with the girls before filming, and it's videos of them a couple years ago in Texas where they're from in the club together. So you definitely did used to hang around Jaden and be in the same rooms as her, whether you like her or not. So then Jaden basically said, I don't understand why the topic of conversation always got to be me. And TT going to say, like, girl, bye. But she basically was the topic of your conversation. You're the one who asked the question to her and her friends as to why they ate in their room. So why are they always the topic of conversation? It's always Bahati, Shay, Oxy, or Jaden with you girls. Y'all just pick y'all pick based on the day. But that's your obsessions. So Jaden was like, yeah, I don't understand why everybody's jumping on me. Coco gonna say nobody's jumping on you, but you need to stand up for yourself. She has been standing up for herself, but at some point, it's like, are we gonna keep arguing and going back and forth? No, if you want to fight me, run up, and I'm gonna defend myself. Other than that, I'm not gonna keep talking and wasting energy going back and forth with you bitches. So Hurricane's yelling over and over again that she beat Jaden's ass 4 times. Jaden need to shut up. Hurricane be acting like she really could fight and she really can't fight. Like, you really be acting like you did your big one and you only fought Jaden, one of the people that we know is the weakest links of the house, who basically admits that she doesn't know how to fight and she was learning how to fight as she went through this season. You're weak for that. So then Coco looks around the table and she's like, oh, I got a question. Who really got an issue with me? So everybody was low-key laughing at her, and she was like, no, I'm serious, because I was mad that I wasn't in the top 4 yesterday. I feel like I really been standing on business. Nobody had to tell me to get in the paint, this, that, and the third, while you still sitting there with this red-ass eye. And at this point, like TT said, you really shouldn't be begging for it, because if you feel like it's about principles and about you really doing your big one, you should have wanted it from Natalie. You should have wanted it from the person that counts. Why you want it from Daisy and Bahati? Coco saying she never heard nobody saying she need to go handle that. I bet you've been hearing it on social media and these reviews while we all keep talking about this Coco, go handle that. So as Coco was giving this speech, you could tell that Bahati and Daisy are just observing her and considering her for the chain. And Bahati said in her confessional, you know, at first I was thinking Jaden, but after hearing Coco's speech, I think she might be a good pick. I felt like that was delusional because Coco's speech wasn't talking about nothing. So I don't know what Bahati was on. I feel like Bahati just knew in that moment that she couldn't stand on picking Jaden because Jaden let Hurricane M sit there and just keep barking on her instead of just punching Hurricane M in the face. So I think Bahati knew, like, damn, Jaden, you low-key just got punked again. So I can't keep saying I'm going to give you the chain. So let me just go ahead and agree with Daisy and say Coco. Because Daisy was saying Coco the first time. She was saying Coco or TT. So Bahati stood up and she was like, okay, guys, so, you know, me and Daisy are going to go decide who's going to get the chain. And she said, I know some of y'all felt the way about me getting the chain, but at the end of the day, I got it. So she walked by them holding the chain. And I guess she looked at Rella and TT in the face. So Rella was like, oh, why Bahati looking at me and TT in the face? I'm about to get crazy on her. And Oxy was like, well, if I don't know nothing else, I know that Bahati did deserve that chain. Clock it. So when they went and sat back down, Bahati was like, you know, I thought about it and I did change my mind. I do feel like you was right and Coco might be the person who could deserve the chain. After hearing her speech, that's what I think. Like I said, I think Coco's speech was bullshit, so I don't know what Bahati was hearing. But for whatever reason, she was like, okay, Daisy, I'm in agreement with you. So it should be done at this point. Daisy, you already said that Coco was an option for you and that you had nothing negative to say about her. So Bahati is finally agreeing with you and saying what you wanted her to say. So why is the conversation not done here? So Daisy says, well, what made you change your mind about Jaden? And Bahati basically said, I do feel like Jaden deserves a chain if there were more chains, but there aren't enough chains. And I feel like Coco's speech and what she said made more sense. She stood on the fact that she wanted her chain and told us why. A lot of the other girls didn't. So here goes Daisy. Now she want to talk about her cat bumping buddy. And she like, you know who deserves it more than Coco though? TT. Now I will say from the beginning, Daisy did bring up Coco and TT as people that she felt was deserving. But you didn't stand strongly or firmly on either one of them in that first conversation. You was like either one was fine. Now you standing so strong on TT when Bahati is finally in agreement with you. So if anything, Daisy should have been like, okay, well, maybe I do feel like TT deserve it a little bit more, but Bahati feel like Jaden deserve it a little bit more. But if we could both agree on Coco, then that's the answer. But no, Daisy wants to keep going, and now she's like, no, it got to be TT, and you supposed to be assisting me. Natalie said you assisting me, so I'm going to give the chain to who I want to give it to. And Bahati said, girl, you're not giving nobody the chain without my approval. I'm not your assistant. We doing this together. We're partners. Daisy gonna say, yeah, because what TT did last night, nobody would do. You talking about TT crashing out in front of Natalie and crying about a chain and running up and down the hallway like a toddler? Nobody would do that. Nobody should do that because they would be embarrassing themselves. And she gonna tell Bahati, I don't know if you have a vendetta against TT or what. If anything, TT has had a vendetta against Bahati this whole season. So Bahati gave Daisy one last chance, basically. She was like, okay, well, if we can't come to a regular compromise, then we either need to do rock, paper, scissors, or me and you need to both put out one name, and those two people need to get into the paint, and whoever win the fight can get the chain. Daisy talking about, no, I'm not making them fight for no chain. You're my assistant, and I'm going to be the person to give a chain away. And Daisy was basically saying Bahati was a hater because she was like, even though me and you fought and I don't really like you, I'm not going to be a hater and say you don't deserve the chain. She was like, Bahati, you do deserve the chain. But I feel like you being a hater because you and TT fought, you saying she don't deserve a chain when you know she do. Now, like I said, TT did put a lot into this season, but her crashing out and just being a hater makes her lose it for me. So Daisy walks off from Bahati acting like she runs shit and like she gonna do what she wanna do. And she like, I know who I'm giving the chain to and I'm gonna do what I wanna do. No, you're not about to do nothing because Natalie didn't tell you to do that. That's why you didn't do that. If Daisy was really running the house like she thinks she is, she wouldn't have had to ask production, oh, give me the chain. No, you would have already had it and you would have been able to do what you said you was gonna do. But Bahati wasn't hearing none of that. She immediately started taking off her shoes and her stockings like she was ready to fight. And then now Daisy gonna say in her confessional, Bahati don't deserve to sit at the table with her. But you just told her in her face, you're not gonna be a hater, even though y'all fought. She do deserve the chain. Which one is it? This is what I be saying about her contradicting herself. So when they go back out there, Bahati basically tells them, you know, me and Daisy can't come to an agreement. I feel like Coco should get the chain and she feel like TT should get the chain. Now, in that moment, I felt like Bahati was basically telling the girls what she needed to tell them. In her mind, she's probably like, me and Daisy are the two top girls in this house. What we just talked about, I don't have to explain that whole process to all of these girls. I just need to tell them what the final result is, which is that I'm okay with Coco getting the chain, but now Daisy is not, and she wants TT to get the chain. Bahati doesn't have to run down the whole situation to these girls and tell them, oh, at first I wanted to give it to Jaden, and Daisy wanted to give it to Coco. Now I wanted to give it to Coco, and Daisy wants to give it to TT. No. But Daisy took that and basically tried to tell the girls Bahati was lying and tell Coco, Bahati said you shouldn't get a chain. Mind you, Daisy is now trying to tell the producers to bring the chain out so she could try to give it to TT, trying to do her big one without Bahati's agreement. But they never bought her that chain. So then once again, Daisy is saying, Natalie already said you're assisting me. And they did show the clip where Natalie basically said, whoever I give the second chain to is helping Daisy decide who gets the third chain. So in Daisy's mind, she could take that as Natalie basically saying, whoever she gave the second chain to is assisting or helping me give out the third chain, but I have the final say. But I don't believe that's what Natalie meant. I believe that Natalie meant the two of you must work together and come to an agreement, which is why the producers are not bringing Daisy that chain right now. So Bahati was basically telling Coco, you know, the reason that I initially said that you shouldn't get the chain is because I don't feel like you've been in the paint as much as other people. But once I heard your speech, I said you should get the chain. Coco stands up and she's like, F all that. So you wanted me to fight you or something? You want me to get in the paint with you? So now Coco is basically asking Bahati what she want to do. And you know Bahati ain't ducking no fade. So she started trying to take her chain off. Oxy basically assisted Bahati with taking the chain off and made sure that she was going to hold it down for Bahati. Like, no, y'all not about to snatch her chain. Y'all not about to take her chain and do no weird shit. So I'm glad Oxy did that. And then Coco ran upstairs to basically like put her hair in a scarf and a bonnet. And I guess probably take her shoes off. I don't know if she had heels on, but whatever. So she comes back downstairs and she's basically ready to get in the paint. So she asks Bahati again. She like, so do you think the chain should go to me or not? And Bahati said, not anymore. So Coco was like, okay, girl, bye. So what's up? So they start squaring up and they end up fighting. So Coco did win the fight against Bahati, but she definitely didn't beat her down to the ground like she was acting like she did on social media. But, you know, she did okay. Whole time Rella is yelling, get her Coco, get her Coco. But at the beginning of the episode, you was kissing Bahati ass and telling her, oh, I'm really proud that you got the chain. I just didn't clap for you because TT's my friend and she wanted it. But now you're shouting, get her Coco. Fake ass bitch. So then Coco and Bahati had a short second round, but the security got in the way. So Bahati went to grab a glass. When Bahati grabs the glass, Daisy is like, oh, you grabbing glasses? And she tries to run over and insert herself in the fight. So Daisy was trying to get that with Bahati again. But her big ass tripped over nothing because nothing was on the floor. She tripped over herself. So Coco is screaming, crying almost, like just screaming to the top of her lungs. Like TT said she went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If TT telling you crazy, that's a problem. So Coco's mad, crashing out, screaming, crying, embarrassing herself. She talking about she about to fight Bahati and take her chain. She looks a mess. Okay, so now we start getting all of the girls' final confessional outros, and we're also getting their final thoughts while they're actually at the dinner. And Bahati says she would do another season, but she do feel like a lot of these girls got trauma and they fight for no reason, and she not really used to that. Shay didn't have much to say. She gonna say, oh, I should get the 50K because look at me. Girl, you actually had good reason that you should have mentioned as to why you should have got the 50K. You didn't even fight for it. But it's kind of stupid that they showing us this episode now anyway when we know that they already filmed the reunion. So y'all already know who y'all was giving the 50K to. Y'all stopped counting the votes before this episode aired. Oxy says she still don't know everybody who jumped her and Shay. So when she watched the show, she gonna see who did. And basically whoever did, she gonna need that at the reunion. And it was funny because when it was Jaden's turn to speak at the final dinner, she was like, I don't have nothing to say next. But in her confessional, she basically said she felt like she deserved the 50K. She was a leader, not a follower. You know, she stood on business, this, that, and the third. She gonna miss Shay, Oxy, and Bahati. Cupcake gonna say at the dinner, Daisy deserved the chain, Bahati didn't. Bahati put her middle finger up. Cupcake tried to run up on Bahati, tried to throw a glass at Bahati. Bye, wig, bye, man. Then Cupcake gonna say, I'll see y'all next time, bye. I don't want to see you ever again. Janella says she didn't see herself fighting this much. She's gonna miss Gloss and Hurricane M the most. And she proud to say she a OG. Gloss gonna tell Shay she's a PUSSY. Told Jaden she don't be standing on shit. She need to get her shit together. And Oxy just like to insert herself in shit. Gloss admitted in her final confessional that she knows she took a L to Shay. And she said she gonna miss Hurricane M the most. Then Ming is a weirdo. She turns to all the girls and says, my final thoughts is y'all better take her chain at the reunion. So she's talking about Bahati. A weirdo. Don't bring Ming back to embarrass Nicki Minaj no more. And then Brella gonna say Bahati's a punk because she took off her chain to fight because she knew it was gonna get snatched. It sounded like she knew that y'all was jealous and y'all was haters and y'all the type of bitches to snatch chains. So she was smart enough to give it to Oxy. Then Hurricane M gets up and she like, oh, Bahati, me and you didn't even fight. But you know, if I did fight you, it would have just been how it was with you and TT. You would have got beat up. Why are y'all all talking to Bahati right now? Like, this is weird. Then Hurricane M final confessional. She's still talking about Jaden, obsessed. Now it's TT turn. When she stood up at the final dinner, she basically said what she been saying. She not pressed over the chain no more because the opportunity to get it from Natalie has come and gone. TT also said she would do another season. I hope they don't bring her back if they do have any returning cast. Now it's time for Coco final thoughts. She's standing up on the table and she starts going back and forth with Bahati again. She pulls down her pants and tries to turn around and moon Bahati. I guess she was trying to have a diamond or a rolly moment. She looked a mess. Bahati held her nose to let it be known that Coco stink. And she just looked a mess. Like, Coco looks a mess. And in her confessional, her final thought, she talking about Jaden too. Talking about she don't like Jaden veneers while you're sitting here with braces in your mouth. And there's nothing wrong with braces, but at your grown age, if you have braces, you shouldn't be talking about nobody else's veneers. So then Daisy basically stood up and tried to give her final thoughts and close the meeting. She was like, this is the last thing I gotta say. And Bahati was like, you're just a fat bitch, bro. So Daisy was trying to talk over Bahati. She was like, anyway, Bahati said, any food. That triggered Daisy. So she told Bahati, shut the F up when I speak, this, that, and the third. And she gonna say, well, Natalie left me in charge of who gets the chain. So I'm gonna get on the phone with Natalie and we gonna figure out who get it by the reunion. Girl, bye. You got no power. And the power goes back to Natalie because you and Bahati couldn't agree. You're not running shit. So Daisy gets the final confessional of the show. She basically says she would do another season. Then it cuts back to the dinner scene and Daisy was like, I'm done. I'm going to call Natalie. The dinner's over. Everybody walks away and the show ends there. So being that this was the last episode, I wanted to rank everybody as a most or least valuable. So my most valuables for this episode were Bahati, Janellis, Oxy, Shay, and Jaden. My least valuables were Daisy, Cupcake, Coco, Ming, Hurricane M, TT, Gloss, and Rella. So like I said, right after I post this, I'll be posting the season rankings where I'll rank the entire season and each girl individually. So look out for that video. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see y'all later for Baddies Africa episode 12. Bye, guys.